what are the problems that you see young people most commonly do, and how can they avoid them? What are the skills that people who want to enter into the digital marketing domain should inculcate that would help them land better opportunities? What are the salary ranges for freshers to like senior levels? All these domains that you've mentioned, can you probably cherry pick a few that you believe are the most rewarding in terms of earning potential? Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. How can people look for opportunities? How can people join such companies? नमस्ते एवरीवन, वेलकम टू द क्यूरियस पॉडकास्ट। और आज हमारे साथ है विबिन। सो विबिन इज इनटू द डिजिटल मार्केटिंग स्पेस फॉर almost a decade now, I believe. And he has had experiences of working with Freshworks, and now he's working in Turing. And before that, he has had a wide variety of career, which we are going to explore now. So welcome to the show. We've been really excited to have you here and do this podcast with you. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling?
Thanks a lot, Pooja, for having me. I'm feeling super excited about this. I know who your audiences are. I know they're mostly students trying to make a mark and make a career, thinking about what they want to do next. So really excited to be able to contribute to that.
Yes, so that's what we are here for. Vibin, I believe after, when you said that you started hearing these words, startup, digital marketing, I believe we were in middle of an era wherein we saw a digital marketing institute on every nook and corner. On if you especially if you visit tier 1 cities, there was a digital marketing institute on every corner. So now we are in this situation. Now we are in an era wherein top institutes, IMABCs, ISBs, all the top B schools of India are also offering courses in digital marketing. So among all this noise, among all these variety of institutes and options available in front of students, uh, how can one pick, okay, this is the right place for me to learn more about this? So I'll talk more about big institutes offering these digital marketing courses and full-time MBAs in digital marketing. We'll talk about that a bit later. But let's just focus on among these plethora of options available, how does one pick that this is the right place for me to learn more about this new field, this still still newer, I wouldn't say that it's very old, but still new field that people can get into, young people?
Absolutely. See, it's a great question, right? I mean, you're seeing a sudden influx of all these digital marketing courses and digital marketing institutes and even elite colleges coming up with a 6 month course or whatever, right? One thing that should be very clear for any of the students listening in is there is demand. There is demand for such a role. And if you have to ask my sort of feedback on what should I do, right? I would say it's completely up to you, right? Like, ask yourself, are you a structured learner, or are you someone who likes to sort of learn while doing, right? If you're a structured learner, I would say just talk to existing students who have taken the course, talk to them. How did they find it useful? Are they able to like implement what they learned in their day-to-day work? You would want to do stuff like that to understand whether that is helpful, that course is helpful or not. If you're someone like me, I would say get a website, start a Facebook page, start an Instagram page, try to grow at something. It could be anything. Forget about the niche, right? Let's say you're interested in motorcycles, start a motorcycle blog, start a Instagram page that just talks about motorcycles. I would say do anything. Just build a following, build traffic for your website, and then you'll end up learning a lot more than what you would generally learn in these courses. The problem with these courses are like they tell you what these things are, right? You will never get the practical experience of trying anything on your own. which is you would probably know, hey, these are the different channels that are available. Here's the tool that you could use to track. All that is great. But if you don't do it, how will you learn, right? Instead, if you start a blog of your own, you're writing something.
Hmm.
How will you know whether it's working or not, right? You would then probably think, hey, how do I understand what's working? So you would think about getting Google Analytics. Then you wouldn't have a lot of money to spend on Facebook. So obviously you would think about SEO. So then you would add Google Search Console to it. Now that you know SEO is your main channel, you would think about how do I make SEO work, and then you would go deep into it.
Hmm.
Then you would think about, hey, I have great content. Maybe this content can also work in video. So then you would start a Instagram channel and think about coming up with reels or videos around that. So I feel it's a little bit of a longer process, but I feel your learning is much more purer if you learn while doing.
Hmm. I want to talk about some controversial stuff, contribute your ideas on this. So
I hope I don't get into trouble, but yeah.
let's do some controversy. But no, that's actually, I mean, it sounds controversial, but
Mhm,
it's something that I saw and I was literally shocked. So I had a like intern who was
mhm,
studying in one of the IIMs. I'm not gonna name it, and he was doing his master's in digital marketing, right? Uh, Theoretically, obviously, he did know a lot of concepts about digital marketing, how the digital marketing space has evolved, and he knew about the how big brands have leveraged the online marketing and digital marketing. But when it came to using the tools in real time, let's just say in tracking the website or different tools that are available, I believe he still didn't know how to work with those tools and what's the proper functionality of those tools. So I'm not defaming these institutes, these big institutes that are offering digital marketing courses, or let's just say any institute that's offering digital marketing courses. But how can one supplement the hands-on experience while working or while studying any of these courses? Because that was some real problem that I saw. Okay, it's good to have all that knowledge, but when it comes to applying that knowledge, right, that's also very important, because that's what the recruiter wants. Do you know actually how to work? So how can one bridge that gap, or how can one supplement the knowledge that they're acquiring while being on hands on, as you rightly mentioned, that do you start your own website, build your own to build your own Instagram, and then you'll learn more. But what else apart from this? How can one keep a tab on the different things that they can probably use uh, or bring to use for a particular project?
I think your observation is right. Like I said, these tools are something that you would naturally land upon only when there is a need, right? There are there are thousands of tools. Like in a course, if they start taking out time to teach you those thousands of tools, like the course would be never ending, right?
Hmm.
So I would say um, the best way to learn it is while being within a company. So one of the things that worked really well for me is optimizing for learning over making money, at least at the start.
Hmm.
Obviously, there will come a time when you have to optimize for money and stuff. But at the start, if you have the luxury to do it,
Hmm.
um, try working with smart people, right? Like let's say you resonate with what I said. What I would do is I would probably just hit up people like that, saying like, "Hey, I heard you on this particular podcast. I'm really interested in working with you if at all there is a chance, and I'm open to doing these things." Like being very specific about it. Sure. And once I know there is an opportunity that comes across my way where I could use that person's help, or if I could refer him to someone, I would probably go ahead and do it, right? So I would say like make yourself as skilled as possible, and then also put in the effort of reaching out to smart people that you want to work with and offer them your service for free, because that's the only thing that you have. You
Hmm.
have your time, and you have your enthusiasm and curiosity with you. You have nothing else, right? Um, so that's what I would do. Let's say that's case number one, right? Case number two is you're already studying any of these courses, and you really want to get to the next stage. Like, how do I learn all of these tools? How do I get my hands dirty?
Hmm.
So even there, what you could do is you would definitely have like a bunch of these industry experts coming in to teach you these things.
Hmm.
Like, can you build relationships with them, right? Can you be the best person in the course who impresses those people who come to teach, who come to review your projects and stuff like that, and make a case for yourself where you're a person who has high curiosity, who's learnable, and you don't know these tools purely because you've not been in a position where you could learn it, right? Let's say I want to learn a tool like Hrefs, right?
Hmm.
Do you think I have the money to spend like $100 every month just to learn it as a student? No. I
Hmm.
have to be in a company which is ready to spend that 8,000 rupees for me to learn that tool.
Hmm.
So that's what I would say.
Hmm. That's such an interesting observation. Do you remember students, or do you remember people like Avkasha who made a small 3D animation video for Cred, and then later on he was offered an internship by Cred. And then there is this
Correct.
one more female, I believe, Dikshita Basu. She also made an entire case study on Zomato, and I don't know if she got an opportunity, but I believe these are the few ways that you can differentiate if you're targeting a specific company. Uh, how can one find such problems and create solutions for these companies in which they want to work in order to differentiate themselves? Sure, there are hundreds of job vacancies out there, but how can one try and be a little different in presenting and or pitching themselves for that company?
Yeah. See, in both the cases, right? One good thing is the person who did that work, they knew what they wanted to work on,
Hmm.
be it creating a motion graphics video or be it creating a marketing plan.
Hmm.
They clearly knew what they wanted to work on. So your first job as a student looking for a job is to find what you're interested in. Like, your interestingness quotient of that job should be much higher than anything else.
Hmm.
Your aim to make money or anything else. That's the first part.
Hmm.
Once you do that, you will naturally have a liking towards certain brands who are doing it well, right? So
Okay.
when I started to do marketing, when I started to learn about B2B marketing, I landed on this company called Drift, which was doing B2B marketing like amazingly well. And HubSpot also was one of them, right?
Hmm.
So I would constantly look at what HubSpot and Drift were doing on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So at that point, if I had to present something or do something, I would have done a case study for either of those two companies saying, hey, you're doing these things like really well, but here's the gap that I see from my point of view, and this is what I want to present to you. So that's what I would recommend as well. I would say first figure out what you're interested in. Then you would have a bunch of companies that you would take inspiration from. Amongst that, figure out what you think could be different. Like, had you been in that place, had you been doing the same job, what would you do differently, right? And present your point of view there, present your work there. And if it resonates with people, they might not agree with it. But if they see some amount of potential in what you're presenting, uh, I'm sure you would get an opportunity to at least have an interview. If not for them,
Hmm.
uh, a lot of other people are also seeing your work, right? See, let's
Hmm.
say even if the cred didn't offer that person a job, so many of us watch the video, we
Hmm.
still tell that, hey, this is the guy who did that cred video, right? So
Hmm.
any company would really like his work, and then they would just hire him. I think that's the power of social media as well, right? you
Yeah.
you I mean, with these algorithms, honestly, right now you don't even need a following to go viral. If your work is good, the
Yeah.
probability of you going viral has increased so much more.
Yes,
Following doesn't mean anything now. Yeah.
true. I remember Avkar Shah's post said it pays to be good. And then Kunal Shah commented, it pays to be good. And then later on, the design team at Cred, they wrote a comment that, we love your work and we'd love to have you on board on our design team. So that was pretty
Wow.
amazing.
That is amazing indeed. Yeah. I mean, I would be excited if more people uh, it this happens to more people. Like this is the
Hmm.
way in which we hire talent in the future. But yeah, I would also say this would also involve a lot of hard work, right? It would it would involve the things that you do in public. It would also involve the things that you don't do in public, right? Which is writing a good LinkedIn DM or writing a cold email.
Hmm.
So it would also involve all of that. But at the end of the day, the main thing that matters is the work. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I believe you must have hired a lot of your juniors and interns. And
yeah.
when you hire such candidates, I want to talk about two facets here. One, what are the problems you see that most young people do when they're applying for a company? And then second, that I want to see what are the skills that you look for when you hire someone so that people can learn those skills and maybe build up case studies around that. So let's talk about the first facet, that is, what are the problems that you see young people most commonly do and how can they avoid them?
Hmm. That's a very good question. Um, hmm. See, okay, in terms of problems, or in terms of what I would say could be different is a few things in terms of the mindset, right? I think a lot of freshers are optimizing for strategic roles, right?
Hmm.
Instead, they should be looking to get their hands dirty, develop a thought process, and then slowly progress into strategy. I think that's a huge mindset shift that is required.
Hmm.
And the second thing is most people make preconceived judgments about which role they want to play, right? Let's say you're coming into marketing. There are multiple teams in which you can go to. You can go to performance marketing, you can go to SEO, you can go to product marketing, you can go to social media marketing, you can go to customer marketing. What I would say is instead of you trying to sort of limit yourselves with these different options, being a fresher, I would say just keep your mind open, be learnable, right? That's the main thing that I would recommend all of these young freshers to do. So that's one of the suggestions that I have. See, again, these are all coming in from observations that I've seen, and one more thing that I've also seen is correct. So you have to decide what you want to do, right? Like whether you want to be a generalist. If you want to be a generalist, then you would ideally want to work for a startup. If you want like a structured path, then you probably want to work for a big company, right?
Hmm.
So that's a choice that you have to make even before you go in. You can't expect a generalist role after you go to a company that's huge, right? Like any company over like 2000 employee size, if you go into the marketing team, uh, these teams would hire you for a particular role. Let's say when I was at Freshworks, if I hired you, you would mostly spend 80% of your time on SEO and non-paid lead gen. If you wanted to do product marketing, I would have no space for it because that's a totally different team.
Hmm.
But imagine you join like a 100-member marketing team. I mean, sorry, 100-member company with like a 5, 6 member marketing team. In that case, you can do everything, right? You can do SEO, you can do product marketing, you can do email marketing. So these are all questions that you need to ask yourself before you make the jump. These
Hmm.
aren't questions that you should be asking or that you should be thinking about after you join a company, right? So I think these are all the common mistakes. Like people come into a company to realize that, hey, probably this is not a right fit for me, and then they think about what they want to do and stuff like that. I would say just thinking about these things way in advance will help you like reduce the back and forth movement.
Hmm. Do you also believe that the youngsters nowadays they want like really good things? They want, as you mentioned, they're optimizing for strategic roles, but they don't want to do the groundwork. They don't want to do the hardcore work that would actually eventually lead them up to that role. Do you see
Yeah.
that problem?
See, it's not their fault, right? It's how it's how things are being projected.
Hmm.
Like we see very few people saying like, hey, I've been in this company for 15 years and I really like doing the core work, right? That's not how progress is being talked about. If you go to like any scientist or any AI researcher or any of the things, like those person will be individual contributors even when they have 15-20 years of experience, right? They probably don't want to manage people. But if you're a fresher and if you're looking at marketers who've been there, done that, and then they're getting all this, they're going to podcasts and talking, they're always measured in terms of, hey, how many people report to you, right? Or what do you do, right? Everyone wants to hear about the top level things about how you made a campaign successful, right?
Hmm.
Freshworks sort of sailed a blimp over Salesforce towers during the Salesforce sort of event. Everyone wants to do that because everyone wants to know about what happened there, right? Because it's so visible. But no one wants to know about how do we optimize bids for to scale on search. No one wants to know how many number of pages that we create in SEO to help us rank for a certain amount of keywords or whatever, right? And no one wants to know how the marketing operation like completely works. Okay, someone is signing up on the website. Where does that information go, or how does it flow? And once it gets into the CRM, what are all the different actions that we would take? There are multiple things that happen underground of whatever like you see on the outside, right? No one's interested in knowing about that. So, or I would say very few people are interested in knowing about that. I think that's where it comes from. But
Hmm.
all I would say is those are only surface levels, right? Obviously, the surface level things, a commercial movie makes a lot more money than something an art film, right? But when you watch an art film, is when you would realize, damn, this is amazing work, right? So
Hmm.
I would say watch a lot of commercial movies, slowly progress towards the art movies, right? That's what I would say. So you read up about the big marketing campaigns, come one level deeper, and you'll arrive at what you want to get to. That's how I would think about it.
Hmm. Right. So, your recommendation, I believe, is to basically be okay with starting from the smaller roles and eventually lead up to the different roles, and above everything, know what you want to do eventually, so that you can maybe pave a path to finally landing where you want to be.
Absolutely. Start small, iterate, figure out what you like, stick to it. I think that's what I would say. I would say you should do, because it's also very difficult to know all of what is happening, right? Say if you ask me directly, put me in email marketing and
Hmm.
ask me everything in detail about it, I wouldn't know. I would know like 20% of it. I wouldn't know every single detail of it. And this is me after spending like 10 years in marketing, right?
Hmm.
So as a fresher, no one expects you to know everything, but at least get a feel of how it is to work for like a particular role, right? I always like talking about this example, which is if you want to be a cricketer, you should know that you only spend 10% of your time playing in front of the crowd. The
Hmm.
rest, 80-90% of the time, you're traveling, you're in hotel rooms, you're working out alone in the gym, you're probably doing endorsements and all of these other things, right? So the core thing that you actually want to do is where you spend the least amount of time. But if you want to be in a position where you have the ability to spend that 10% of the time, then the other 90% of the time becomes equally important.
Hmm.
So that's where starting small, testing it out, iterating, and then settling on something makes sense.
Hmm. That makes sense. So let's talk about the other facet that we initially began with. What are those skills that you necessarily look for in candidates while hiring? And or in general, like the other part of this could be, what are the skills that people who want to enter into the digital marketing domain should inculcate that would help them land better opportunities?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I generally tend to forget like nested questions. So I'll probably answer the first part of the question first. What do I look for? Right. I look for people with high curiosity. Um, and how do I find that? If they say they like something, I go deeper into it. I ask them more questions. Are they able to answer those questions? And that gives me an idea of how curious they are about any topic that they're curious about.
Hmm.
Um, I look for high energy. I love people who are enthusiastic. I love people um, who bring in a lot of energy to work. Um, I also don't mind people who have like a chip on their shoulders. Um, I I feel like those people tend to be a little hard to manage,
Hmm.
but once you know how to manage them, I think they could be amazing performers.
Hmm.
I would also see if they are done someone done something, anything
Okay.
that shows that they are passionate about something, right? They could be like great performers. They could have like a following on social media.
Hmm.
They could have like a very weird hobby of just collecting um I don't know, anything. It
Points.
could be just bottles, it could be coins, it could be shoes, it could be anything, right?
Hmm.
I just want to see a little bit of obsessiveness about something, right? Um,
Hmm.
so I think all of these things tie deep within, like if you look at like curiosity, energy, and obsessiveness, all of these have like a very small thread that connects all of this. But that's what I majorly look for. And especially if I'm hiring an intern or someone who's a fresher.
Hmm.
But if I have to tell something like a few skills, I would say obviously get super good at communication. When I say communication, like clear communication, right?
Hmm.
Um, both written and oral. Like if you say something, it's okay. You can explain it like once or twice, but ensure that the other person is getting what you're saying, right? There is no loss of transmission. So I think I would say that's super important. The other thing is they should be just nice to talk to and be like easy to talk to, right?
Hmm.
Because what you would realize very quickly is every job within like a decently big company is a sales job. You have to convince your manager, you have to
Hmm.
convince other teams, you have to do a bunch of these things. So I would say, yeah, those things are all like super important.
Hmm. Right. Are there any tools that if a candidate has on their resume, you would give them preference? For example,
Yeah,
maybe functional knowledge of MS Excel, Google Sheets, or as you mentioned, some email marketing tools like ConvertKit or SEO. Are
yeah,
what are the hard skills that you look for? And maybe you could, segregate them into different roles. For example, if you're hiring for social media marketing, what are the skills that you look for, like Canva आता है कि नहीं आता, या फिर
correct.
some design softwares. And if you're hiring for, let's say, writing role, what are the technical skills that you look for? Is it copywriting? Is it SEO? So
Yeah. See, I think this is a very good question. I'll tell you why. Um, See, tools are just tools, right? You use Instagram for like 10 days. If I ask you to close your eyes and tell me where what is, you would tell me. Similarly, all of these tools perform the same action, right? It's not difficult to learn a tool, but you just need to be put in a position where you could learn all these tools, right? But having said that, if you have to ask me what are the important tools, I would say a few of the analytics tools are important. Like, do you know basic? Can you have a basic understanding of Google Analytics? Um, um, Excel is very important. Like, can you crunch data? Can you present it in a better way, right? Canva obviously is super easy. Canva also tends to be important. See, think about this, right? You're doing your work. There are tools that can help you do your work. There are tools that can help you track your work. There are tools that can help you present your work. If you know any of these tools and any of these three different buckets as a fresher, it's an advantage to you. You figure out what these tools are. But all I would say is the more free tools that you know, that you use for anything that you do, I think it's an added advantage because it'll just signal, hey, if this person is able to learn like 5 tools, of course he will have the curiosity and not like basic skill level to figure out 5 other tools on his own or her own. So that's what I would say. All these things are just signaling mechanisms, right? Signaling mechanisms of the interest that you have and signaling mechanisms of you being
Hmm.
capable of learning such tools in the future.
Hmm. Signaling mechanism. I like that word. Let's talk about a very important topic that people are interested in, and that's salaries, money, growth potential. So, could you tell me what are the salary ranges for freshers to like senior levels?
Hmm. Yeah, see, okay, I'm not gonna answer that directly, but I'm gonna tell them like something that's important. Probably that's not something that they want to hear, but see, this is what I want to tell you guys, which is every irrespective of whatever you do, whatever game you play in life, if you play it at a higher level, you would get paid like enormous amount. There is a customer support representative who's probably getting paid a crore, right? A crore per a year. There is someone who's getting paid like that. Um, there are marketers who are getting paid like multiple crores per year, right? So all I would say is choose the game, choose the game that compounds. Like when I
Hmm.
say pick a game, I wouldn't probably want you to pick a game that would not compound, right? Where uh, a person with 10 days of experience is no different from a person with ten years of experience, right? Don't pick a game like that. But if you pick a game where you compound with time
Hmm.
and you stick to it and you improve your level, you would get paid enormous amounts. That's what I would say. And
Hmm.
to answer your question on how much does like digital marketing pay if they're at the top end, if they probably have like 10 years of experience, I would say you will definitely be in the top 1% of earners in India, right? That's what I would say. 100% you would be at the top 1% of India. Um, Starting salaries, I would say, um, I mean, it's very difficult to give a number because every company has their own pay grade and stuff.
Hmm.
But I would say just having lived in Taiwan cities and stuff, I would say anything less than 5 lakh would be little difficult in Taiwan cities to have a comfortable life. But uh, if you have that cushion, if your parents can support you for some time, or you could manage with having that crunch in life, I would say just go for it. Don't think about money at the start.
Hmm.
Focus on learning. Focus on leveling yourself up. Focus on improving your level. Right, when once you
Hmm.
improve your level in the game that you've chosen, for
Hmm.
sure you're gonna make a lot of money. I had to be patient. Like I didn't make like a ton of money at the start. I had to
Hmm.
wait like multiple years to get to the level that I thought, okay, I'm comfortable. I had times where I was definitely not comfortable from a money point of view, but
Hmm.
I still chose to stick where I wanted to stick because the learning, the slope was much higher. So
Hmm.
there are times in life where you would have to take that decision, and it's a very personal choice, right? I can't go tell someone like, "Hey, why are you optimizing for money? Don't optimize for money, optimize for learning." Because if that person really needs money, like
Hmm.
no one else in the family is earning, he's the only earning member or she's the only earning member. I can't say that, but I would say if you have an opportunity to do it, always optimize for learning, always optimize for that slope. Yeah,
Hmm. That's a great insight. But also, very simple because that's what everybody says, but people don't
yeah,
usually keep that in mind when they're
yeah.
looking for opportunities. And initially, when you're independent for the first time of your life and you're earning for the first time in your life, then you feel that, I need more money to maybe impress or I'm not talking about other people who genuinely have financial problems, but I'm talking about other individuals as well. So that's a great insight, guys. Do take a note of this specifically that optimize learning over earning in the initial years of your career. That way, you'll be able to climb the ladder faster.
Absolutely.
Um, Having said that, can you divide the different domains that a person can get to work in the digital marketing field? Uh, there
Yeah,
is writing, that there is social media marketing. The couple of that I have on top of my head. Uh, Social media marketing. There is growth marketing, or we call it as PPC, paid ads, right? There is like completely organic marketing, which is SEO based. So can you divide these? Can you tell us these domains that a person can work into the entire digital marketing field?
yeah. See, right now I think all marketing is digital marketing. So
Hmm.
I would probably just broadly call it marketing.
Hmm.
Under marketing, you would have your brand marketing.
Okay.
Um, you would have product marketing. You would have customer marketing. You would have performance marketing, which is your PPC and paid ads and everything
Hmm.
that you spoke about. You would have an SEO team.
Hmm.
You would have a marketing operations team, um, which probably has email marketing, which probably has people who do conversion rate optimization.
Hmm.
Um, you would also have SDRs. These are sales development representatives. In certain companies, they sit within the marketing org. In certain companies, they sit within the sales org. Um, you also have what else did I miss? You'll have a PR team, which probably sits under marketing team. You'll have a design team, um, which again sits under the brand marketing.
Hmm.
You will almost always have field marketing teams. These are people who go on the field, who meet people, who wine and dine, do all of these things.
Hmm.
You also have, yeah, you would also have an event marketing team, people who run events for the company,
Hmm.
or people who go ahead and attends like third party events. So
Hmm.
you have a bunch of these.
Hmm. Pretty extensive, I would say. And what about the influencer? Where would you place it? In the brand marketing?
Uh, so yeah, see, I work for a B2B SaaS company. So in our world, influencer marketing doesn't exist.
Okay.
But in let's say an e-commerce world, I'm pretty sure it exists, and it's a very important
Hmm.
play that they have. Where it sits can differ from company to company, right? Maybe
Hmm.
certain companies it works really well for them, so they want to have a separate uh,
Team
marketing
for
team for
that.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. Right. Or you could work with agencies who are basically managing all these influencers if you want to be closely connected to the world of content creators.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you might want to
Right.
do that as well.
And People want to know, they always want to pick the field that would pay them the most in the long run, that's the
Correct.
most creative lucrative role or domain. So among all these domains that you've mentioned, can you probably cherry pick a few that you believe are the most rewarding in terms of earning potential?
Yeah. Okay. So here's how you want to think about it. You want to think about what is the skill which has the highest ROI, right? So
Hmm.
if they are spending 10 lakhs on you,
Hmm.
are you able to at least produce like $1 million worth of results, right?
Hmm.
So what are the skills that will enable you to do that? That's one. So that's something that you might have to ask yourself and then figure out what roles are that. You might also want to think about demand and supply,
Okay.
where which role has like the highest amount of demand and which role has the least amount of supply. If the
Hmm.
demand is high and if the supply is low, automatically the salary expectations will go up, right? Right now, there is a huge need for people who do like who build LLMs for that matter, right? Or who work in AI for that matter. The
Hmm.
demand is huge, but the supply is so limited that OpenAI is paying like $1 million packages per year, right? Can you even imagine like a single guy getting paid $1 million per year for
Damn.
doing like a particular job?
Hmm.
So that's how I would ask you to sort of think about it.
Hmm.
But to answer your question on, hey, can can you be a social media marketer and then like earn like gazillion dollars? Uh, it's very difficult to say that because you have to look at the demand supply equation, right? Hey, is this in
Hmm.
demand? Yes. Is the supply low? No, it's not. It's high. So obviously your salaries would come down, and you'll
Hmm.
have to ask yourself, which company am I being a part of? Is this a company where social media is super important, right? For a consumer company, it is. For a
Hmm.
B2B SaaS company, not so much. So these are all the questions that you have to ask yourself and then decide where you want to be, like what you want to do, and then where you want to be. So that's how I would think about it.
Hmm. 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 Uh, okay, fair enough. But still, I would say, just for the sake of ease for students to
Yeah,
maybe uh, pick among three, four options, just like
yeah,
mention, okay, these are three, four options, maybe look at them. And these are the
yeah,
options where the supply is already too much. So maybe
yeah,
they're just looking from earning and potential of, if you're just plainly looking at it from earning potential, maybe
yeah.
among these you could pick.
Yeah, see, very difficult because with AI and everything coming in, I don't know if this would how well my suggestions would age,
Hmm.
but I'm still gonna take a stab at it from like a demand supply lens. See,
Hmm.
I think India has very few like really good product marketers, right?
Hmm.
So I would say product marketing is definitely something that is on short supply.
Hmm.
I would again say that about SEO. SEO, like people who understand SEO from like a deep point of view, right?
Hmm.
Um, People who can not just think about SEO but can also think about SEO from a product point of view. I think
Hmm.
I think that's in short supply. While there is also like ChatGPT coming in and threatening Google, I still believe that search SEM, which is paid marketing, could go on for some point of time. It'll still have its standing. So I think that's important. Um, Email marketing again seems pretty important.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think these are all these are things that I would say are important. I would also say if you're someone who's very analytical, um, I would say just thinking about the marketing operations bit. That's also like super important, and it can pay you like a good sum of money.
Hmm. Right.
See
What else?
anything,
Hmm.
yeah. What I would say is just look at what's happening. like overall, right? If you observe what's happening overall, you would know. You would have like multiple marketplaces where you would have content writers who are willing to write for like 1 paise per word. You will have content writers willing to write it for like 100 rupees per word or whatever, right? Ideally, you can get paid like a very good amount even if you're a content writer. Like I said, it's based on your level, it's based on what you have to offer.
Hmm.
So I still would stick to my point on saying like if you, irrespective of your field, if you do it at the highest level, you could still earn a lot of money. That's what I would say.
Hmm. Right. So, I think that's a good point, Vibin, that even though like we have sort of cherry picked these few domains that are
Yeah,
highly rewarding, but at the same time, if you feel that your skills are more aligning to the social media
yeah,
marketing profile, and you
yeah.
believe that you could be actually the best one to do things differently, I think you should give it a try and not be afraid that, maybe this is not that growth oriented. Don't think too much about that. If you believe that your skills are more aligned and you'd be super passionate about contributing in this particular domain, go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. I think yeah, that's exactly how I would look at it.
Right. Um, so from being a social media intern to being the chief marketing officer or CMO, is it
Yeah.
possible in today's day and age?
So yeah, I think see, it's definitely possible. We generally tend to underestimate people's slope. There's no reason why you can't start as an intern and then become a CMO or even a CEO for that matter. It completely depends on what you learn along the way, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Maybe you join as a social media person and then you progress to being like a product marketer and then you become really good and then you start owning like a product completely, right? So it's completely like it's totally dependent on your inclination, your learning, and what you can do over a period of time. And I'm amazed when I see people like Satya Nadella, when I see people like Sundar Pichai, or even the CEO of Costco. These are amazing stories where people have spent 10, 20, 30 years within like a particular company, grown from like an analyst to being like at the executive leadership level, right? That only shows, that doesn't show not only your skill level, but it also shows your ability to compound, your ability to like work with different people, your interest in making the company big, um, your interest in sort of like being a better person every day, right? Only people like that get to such a level. Obviously, there is multiple layers of luck that has to come with it, which is you need to have good mentors, you need to have good managers.
Hmm.
The company that you're in is also constantly growing, right? If a company is not growing, like even you wouldn't grow, right? So there are multiple layers of luck that comes with it, but
Hmm.
I would I would not say it's not impossible. It's possible. It's been done before. So yeah, I would say just it's everything is in our hands. It's not like an impossible task.
Hmm. Right. Uh, you mentioned that you have to join companies that are also growing, otherwise you wouldn't grow.
Yeah,
I've seen craze among students and young professionals willing to join the FANG group, right? Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. So, how can people look for opportunities? How can people join such companies? Is there anything special that they need to do, or is there any special degree that they require in order to get placed in these companies?
I think you're talking to a person. You're asking a person who has not worked for a fang himself. So I'm but I know like a few people who work in fang and who are in marketing.
Hmm.
See, I would say not very different, right? Like I used to work with them in like a certain company, which means like we were able to get through that particular hiring criteria, right? So uh, all I would say is there are people who knew their craft really well. Uh, there are people who could communicate really well, and there are people who also had an interest to join like a company like Fan, right?
Hmm.
Um, they thought it's a good company for them to work in. Maybe it's not for you, right? Maybe you're a
Hmm.
person who likes to be a journalist. Maybe you're a person who likes that hustle of a startup. You
Hmm.
have to ask yourself, do I even want that, right? That's what I would say. Like, I know fangs are cool, fangs pay well, and all of that, but I also know a lot of people who who have like better job satisfaction, better salary, and better respect purely because they know what they want to do, and then they're in a company that enable them to do that. So yeah, I would say like fangs are great. No shade against them. I mean, all of us have wanted to work for them at some point in our lives, but
Hmm.
all I would say is just to ask yourself is if that is actually what you want, or is that what you want because your friend wants it, right? Or you know that there is a certain level of status that comes with that role. So yeah,
Hmm. Right. I think everything sort of boils down to know what you really, really want deep down.
I know. It's been a journey. It is a journey. It's been a journey for me as well.
Yeah.
So it's I know it's not easy. I know you'll have a lot of doubts. You wouldn't know what you want to do or what the right thing is. It's fine. None of us knew. We're all alive. We're all surviving. Pooja is kind enough to call her on her podcast, so I think you will survive too. You'll also have someone like calling you over to have a conversation. Just focus on what you want to do. Do it well. Do it with love. Do it with passion, and I think you'll figure out a way. Is what I would say.
You're actually right. I believe we can have a separate podcast episode on this entire topic of how important it is to figure out what you want in life. Better if you do it early. Otherwise, you're going to invest a lot of years figuring out, trying out each and everything. So, having experienced that myself, right? So, I can very closely relate and resonate to what you're saying. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know like a lot of people listening wouldn't feel completely satisfied with the answers that I gave because I obviously being a marketer know what goes viral, right? Like if I give you like a point of view which is direct, one, two, three, this is what you need to do with strong opinions that might go viral, but the intention for me is not to do that. The intention for me is to sort of give you a framework to think about things, right? Hey, I
hmm.
mean, I can easily tell you go pick product marketing or marketing operations, you'll get paid more or whatever.
Hmm.
But that's not what you should do, right? You should think about it with a framework that would work for you, and then pick what you want to do. Similar
Hmm.
with fans, right? Like someone would be an idiot to say, hey, don't go join a fan, right? But you should think about whether it's the right decision for you and whether it's the right place that you want to be in. So yeah.
Right. Uh, I think it's a good segue to the question that how can one find opportunities that good companies are not putting up? How do you create a space for yourself? How do you create an opportunity for yourself to be
Mm,
able to work in good companies? I'm not saying FANG specifically, but any good company that you
very good.
also relate to, a brand for which you would want to work to. One way is definitely make presentations or videos like
Yeah.
Afkarsha and Dikshita. But what are the other ways to reach out to such companies? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter, directly reaching out to founders? What are the ways, if you were, let's say, that you are the fresher today and having all that knowledge that you have, but you are asked to start your life fresh, what would you do differently in order to work for companies that you love?
Yeah. Like you rightly said, we already know like creating something, making it public, posting it on social media, that's done and dusted. We've spoken about it. The second thing that I would say is people who work with you or who give you a chance, do they want to work with you the second time over, right? Let's say you work with 10 managers, do at least 8 of them want to work with you again, right? See, obviously, there could be a mismatch between like you and one, two of your managers, which is completely fine, right? You don't have to agree with everything. Maybe you weren't a good fit, maybe they weren't a good fit. All that is fine, but at least have a case where at least 70 to 80 percentage of people that you worked with want to work with you again, right? At any capacity. They would want to be a manager, they would want to be a peer. That will create opportunities for you which will not show up in the career space, right? Or you would get that opportunity even before it comes out on the career space.
Hmm.
So if you ask me what I would do differently, I think I was probably a bit of a hothead when I was a kid. It's majorly because I mean that's what I said. Like every job within like a big company is a sales job, and you have to like slowly sell that idea, right? I optimize for being correct over like influencing people to doing what is the right thing, right? So I think
Hmm.
that's something that with experience I'm trying to get better at. I've gotten better at. Uh, but yeah, that's what I would say. Like whatever opportunity you get, deliver an amazing wow experience that people want to work with you again. That's the only way that you get opportunities that you don't generally see on job boards.
Hmm. 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 Uh, but where would you reach out these companies? Like, is it LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram? How would you actually reach out?
Got it. So yeah, correct. So I was basically talking about a case where you already have a job, but I think you're asking for something that's one step before, which is
Hmm.
if you don't have a job, how do you reach out to these people, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, if it's a small company, I would majorly say reach out to the head of marketing or the CEO, right?
Hmm.
If there's a head of marketing, reach out to head of marketing. If there isn't, reach out to the CEO. Show them your
Hmm.
interest. Where do you reach out to them? Where do they generally hang out, right? They hang out on LinkedIn. They probably hang out on Twitter. So you would ideally want to reach out to them there.
Hmm.
Um, and how do you get to the point where you reach out? Just don't randomly go and just reach out asking for a favor, right? Do something in return, like probably like their tweets, interact with their tweets, add value to their tweets. Um, write a DM where you're asking for something, right?
Hmm.
You're asking for a job, you're asking for their time.
Hmm.
Also make it very clear that what you are going to offer them in return, right?
Hmm.
So do all of that. I would also say most of these CEOs, most of uh, these people at a particular level, one of the major job that they do every day is checking their emails. So if you can write a super interesting email,
Hmm.
um, that should also get you like a lot of these opportunities. Um, Having said that, the best way to reach out to maximum amount of people at one time is social media. Again, right?
Hmm.
Showing your proof of work. Um, I would say, see, I would say create a proof of work, make it go viral, then arrive at a list of companies that you want to work with. Use
Hmm.
that as like a signaling factor, which you can then put in your email, put in your DM, put in your like personal message, and
Hmm.
then like send it to them personally as well. I think that's one way. That's the best way of doing it.
Hmm. Right. Uh, I think I was watching. I was maybe reading something. So the person had mentioned that I think it was a recruiter. Maybe I was reading on LinkedIn. So they had mentioned that when people reach out to me, they're always like, I want a job. They are always asking for something. They are not telling me what they can offer me, right? They're not telling me what value they can bring to the table. So when you said that, don't just ask for a job. Also tell them what value can you bring to the table, what you can offer, what skills do you bring when you say that you want to work for this company. That's, I think, a very different way of approaching. And there are more chances that you'll get a response from them. So,
Absolutely. See, that's the basic skill of a marketer, right?
hmm,
Knowing what the other person wants and then trying to give it to them.
hmm,
So it becomes even more important for if you're looking for a marketing job to be able to do that.
hmm, right. Um, I think that's that. This brings us to the end of the podcast. So that's all. I believe any words of wisdom for the audience, for the younger people listening to this podcast, Vibin?
Um, uh, very um, see most times when you listen to podcasts, when you listen to other people, they're all saying their version of the story and how they figured things out, right?
Hmm.
Doesn't mean like we are right and we know everything. We also figured stuff along the way. So I would I would always say like have an experimental like way to live life. And so when you have this experimental way of living life, you're constantly doing things and then questioning, is this the right thing that I should be doing? Is this the right thing that I should do? And then you make changes and then you figure out life. So I think I really like that way of living life. I feel that's a super peaceful way of living life because there's no wrong decision, right? It's everything is an experiment. Like
Hmm.
you made a decision, it's an experiment that you took. An experiment by definition is something that can succeed or fail. So if an experiment fails, you tweak and then you make another experiment. So yeah, that's what I will leave you guys with. Uh, yeah.
That's actually a very great insight because, as you mentioned, then you're not following a path. Usually, when people give any advice, they usually give you a path, and you feel that if you walk on this path, you will somehow achieve success or you'll get successful. But knowing that this is an experiment, this may or may not work, you kind of do not get disappointed, and you also uh, don't resent the process of going through that experiment, because you always knew it from the start that, hey, this might not work. Okay. So that's
Yeah.
a great way of looking at it. Thank you so much for giving me a new perspective.
I'm glad it helped. It has helped me a lot as well in my own personal life. So I would definitely recommend you guys to experiment with it at least. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vibin, for this entire podcast, for taking out so much time, even though you're not feeling well. It means a lot, really. It truly means a lot. Guys, do reach out to Vibin on Twitter, LinkedIn. I'll put his links in the description. If you have any problems, if you want any guidance or any advice regarding your career in marketing, I think Webin would be of great help. He is currently working in Turing. And if you are looking for opportunities in Turing or any some guidance, then Webin is the person to reach out. On that note, thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you, Webin.
Namaste. Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me, Pooja. It was really nice. Just to sort of come in and think about the journey that I've taken and also like provide value to something that I'm really passionate about, which is like sort of giving back to the community that has given me something. So yeah. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to do that.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you.